What's going on, guys? My name is Chris. You're watching Raising the Bar. Have you ever been in a position where you felt like you wanted to do something, but you were too afraid to actually go out and do it? Were you able to actually accomplish it, or did you withdraw because the fear was too great and you couldn't actually accomplish what it is that you wanted to? Have you ever overcame a fear? How did you feel about it? I want to kick this video off by sharing with you a story from when I was younger. And this was the first time where I actually accomplished something that I deemed impossible for me to do. The story is in regards to accomplishing my fear of heights. Now, when I was in 6th and 7th grade, the alternative education program that I was a part of brought us to a town adjacent to ours where they had an obstacle course set up, and it was called Project Adventure. But what it really was just absolute chaos because of the behaviorally challenged children that were in this program. But that's not the point. The point is, after the year was complete, they invited all of the parents down, and this was on an old state police barracks, by the way. All the state troopers are there, the teachers, the parents, all the kids, of course. And the activity for the day for us was a trust exercise. There was a telephone pole that was in the middle of a field, all rigged up with wires, so that way somebody on the ground could belay the folks that were actually going up the pole. There were spokes on the sides of the pole. The goal was for 3 kids to climb to the top of the pole and then hold each other's hands and lean backwards, balancing themselves on top of the pole with their feet touching. 2 kids go up, and now it's my turn. Now I need to climb to the top of this telephone pole. I remember climbing and just being absolutely terrified. Absolutely terrified. I was able to get to the top of this pole. And when I reached the summit of the pole, I couldn't pull myself and stand up. Although my 2 friends were standing at the top of the pole, cheering me on, trying to pull me up, I could not let go of the pole because I felt so afraid I was going to fall onto the ground below. All the parents, all of the policemen, all of the teachers are sitting there cheering me on, which only made the pressure worse. As the cheering grew louder, as the encouragement from my 2 friends on top of the pole grew even further, so did my emotional instability, and I began crying. I was bawling at the top of this telephone pole. I could not let go, and I could not pull myself up. Something internally within my body was preventing me from pulling myself up due to the fear that I had of being up so high. I believe I was on that pole, stuck in that position for about 20 minutes. Crying, unable to move, felt like an animal clawed to a tree and just riddled with fear, crippling fear to the point where I couldn't even move. Slowly but surely, I mustered up the courage because I knew there was no alternative. I was not going to give up. I knew I had to do this. I knew I had to do it, not only because everybody was watching and I didn't want to fail in front of everybody, but I needed to do it for myself. Because up until that point, I had been told I couldn't do this, I wasn't allowed here, all of these no's and this negativity in my life that was imposed by other people, which in turn directly affected my level of confidence in myself and my abilities. Now I'm in a situation where it's me versus me, and I don't have the confidence to move forward and get myself up that pole. I knew I had no option. I knew I had to get up, and I needed to do this. I needed to do it to prove to myself that I can conquer this fear of heights. I'm completely safe. I'm being belayed by somebody on the ground that could easily catch me if I fell. There was virtually no danger. But in your head, you think, if I climb up there, I'm going to die. Well, I inevitably forced myself, slowly but surely, to get to the top of that pole. Tears coming down my face. But I got to the top. I got to the top, I grabbed the hands of both of my friends, and I leaned backwards, and I did it. When I dropped down, everybody came running over to me and embraced me for being able to do that because they saw firsthand. We're talking 30, 40 people saw firsthand the struggle and how emotionally taxing getting to the top was, but I did it, and everybody was proud of me for going forward and doing it anyway and not giving up. That's the takeaway. I want you to think about this. When you are faced with a fear, that fear can manifest itself across a variety of areas in your life. But you need to decide whether or not conquering that fear is going to benefit you enough to warrant you to do it. And the reality is, most of the time, when we're put in a position where we are so afraid, on the other side, once you go through that motion and you conquer that fear, you might still be afraid, but at least you did it. At least you did it and you knew that you did it. Nobody else. You did it yourself. You were mentally strong enough to be able to withstand the emotional pain that you were enduring in that particular situation, and were able to conquer that fear. What happens after you do that? You feel a sense of power that you can't get any other way. It's almost a rush, like an adrenaline rush, knowing that you were able to accomplish that fear. That was the first time that I accomplished a fear in my life. I am no longer afraid of heights. I've never been skydiving, but I've done pretty much everything else. I haven't been bungee jumping either, but roller coasters, all that stuff, no problem. You need to accomplish that fear. You need to face it head on. Because the only thing that could come from it is growth. You become a better person. You become a more resilient person for conquering that fear. I'll give you another example. It's another basic example, but something that I was really proud of. Haunted houses. Anybody out there afraid of haunted houses when they were young? I certainly was. I was terrified. Scared the hell out of me. Couldn't handle it. Loved horror movies, ironically enough, but could not handle a haunted house. Well, sophomore year of high school, I decided I was no longer going to be afraid of haunted houses. I was done with this fear. It was silly. It was irrational, and I knew that. And I also knew that I needed to do something about it. So what did I do? I was able to go to a haunted house, and as terrified as I was, knees shaking, I put myself in the front of the line with everybody else behind me, and I led everybody through that haunted house. It held my head up high. I was clenching my fist the entire way. I didn't close my eyes or do anything like that. I powered through that thing. And although it's such a small thing, going through a haunted house, at the time, that was a big step for me. Because I was able, again, I was terrified of this, and I was able to do it. And then when I came out the other end, I no longer had a fear of haunted houses. I love haunted houses now. I think they're absolutely fun. I have a few stories about haunted houses I'll share with you guys, some funny ones. But that's what you need to think about, is when you conquer something, you become empowered. And when another fear presents itself, or another risk or an obstacle presents itself in life, you can reflect back on those times where you conquered your fears. And it'll provide you with the strength and the power to do it again. Because over time, as you keep doing this, you begin to build a sense of self-confidence, knowing that you are capable, that you are empowered, you can handle this. But the only way you're going to get that level of confidence is if you go out, you conquer your fears. You need to put yourself in those uncomfortable positions. Those uncomfortable positions are what is going to enable you to grow as time goes on. And that's the most important thing here. If we're afraid of this, well, why are we afraid of it? Certain things make sense, loud noises, heights, things that could kill us. I understand that. But if you're afraid of approaching a girl, you're afraid of interviewing for a new position, or maybe you're afraid of taking a financial risk, well, guess what? The greater the risk, the greater the reward. And sometimes it's not always a monetary reward. Sometimes it's an emotional reward. Something that you can arm yourself with and keep in your arsenal when times get tough, that you can bust back out in a mental memory, play it in your head, and utilize as ammunition to conquer another fear that you have. Ultimately, fear holds us all back. We are our own worst enemy. If you can conquer the fear, you can conquer your life. Don't be afraid. Go out, conquer your fears, do what you need to do, start small and work your way up. If you are afraid of heights just like me, I would strongly recommend starting there because it worked wonders at opening other doors in my life. If you're afraid of approaching girls, good, go out and do it. The more you do it, the more desensitized you become, and the easier and easier it is for you to replicate that behavior in other aspects of your life. Thank you for listening, guys. I appreciate it. Feel free to visit my website, rtbtransformations.com. Comment, like, and subscribe on this video, man. I really appreciate it. And with that, I am out of here. Take care.